Hey everyone, Stacy Alcorn here, LAER Realty. Wanted to give you guys an update on the housing market and what we're seeing for the start of 2020. I know one of the things that everybody wants to talk about is the coronavirus, and I will make sure to address that at the end of the presentation and what type of effects that could have on our business. But before I get there, I want to talk about what we're already seeing in the start of 2020. So first off, I want to say thanks to our friends at Keeping Current Matters for some great information on the housing market. This information today that I'm going to talk about, I put together. It's a mix of some of the stuff from Keeping Current Matters and their research, as well as just local market research, what's happening in our local markets in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and beyond. So first, I want to give everybody an update on what we're seeing at LAER Realty. It's been a terrific start to 2020. This year, we have already closed, just in January and February alone, 351 transactions for $120 million in business. That is up roughly 10% from last year, where last year we were at 313 closings for January and February and $110 million in business. We're also seeing an increase in the number of listings early in March. So from March 1st through March 12th, we have already listed, today we listed our 100th property just for the month of March. So listing inventory is super strong across our marketplaces. But let's talk about what's happening in real estate in general. So we already know that the housing market is heating up entering into 2020, and recent rate declines could continue that trend. This is a sharp contrast to the strong cooling that we saw this time last year. 30-year fixed mortgage rates are super low. So right now they're hovering somewhere in the high 2s to low to mid 3s, but rates in the 2s or 3s are lowest since Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac started calculating the mortgage rate index. So this is like 50-year historic lows as far as interest rates go. So if you have buyers that have been thinking about buying real estate forever, like now is the time to do it, because rates are just so incredibly low. It is a great opportunity to buy property, whether it's an owner-occupied or getting our clients to buy their first investment properties, because money is not free, but it's pretty close to free. So we always know in our business that our business is historically powered by supply and demand. So let's talk about what the supply looks like. What is the demand in the market? Are people still out there looking to buy? So one of the places that we can monitor this and see like what is the foot traffic to listings is showing time. By the way, showing time is one of those free tools that we give you at LAER. We pay for showing time on your behalf. Not only does it make it convenient for you to set up showings on your listings, but more importantly, they give us some really cool reports. Earlier today, I recorded a quick video for our agents on the cool reports on the back end of your showing time to show clients that even amidst all the chaos that's happening in the world, there are a lot of people still out shopping for real estate. So you can pull town reports. So if you want to see how many people are looking at houses in your marketplace, just log into your showing time account and go to the back end of your dashboard and you can pull reports on that. But what we know just across the country from showing time is that the January showing index saw a 20.2% increase year over year in showing traffic for January. So that means that 20% more showings on listings this January than last January. And that is the largest increase in buyer foot traffic since they started doing the index. So kind of interesting info. Let's talk about existing home sales. So right now what we're seeing is already an increase in existing home sales. So in on average across the country, year over year, they're seeing that there's an increase in the number of houses that are selling. By the way, these numbers are right in line with what we're seeing at LAER. So I opened up today saying we've sold 10% more already this year than we did last year. And that is what is happening across the country. So 9.6% increase in home sales year over year as of what's happening right now. And in the Northeast, it's about 11.5% increase in general. So will that continue? Well, it depends on what we see for inventory. So that's why I was so excited to say that, hey, at LAER, we already put out 100 listings on the market just for March, because our market is so desperately in need of inventory. What we're seeing across the country is that we have a massive shortage in inventory, 13.6% on average across the country. Those numbers change a bit as you get into higher price ranges. There's a little more inventory in the higher price ranges. Those homes typically take a little bit longer to sell. So, but in general, everywhere across Massachusetts and New Hampshire, we're seeing a lack of inventory and less inventory than last year. I do want to pause for a second just to talk about where you can find inventory reports for your marketplace. These reports are so very important, because if you're sitting with a seller and they say, you know, should I put my house on the market now, or should I pull it off the market because of the fears around the coronavirus? All we could say is that right now, what we know right now is there is still a massive shortage of inventory in virtually every market across Massachusetts and New Hampshire. But you can go to your local board website. So here's a snapshot that I want to show very quickly from the GBAR, Greater Boston Association of Realtors website. And you could see, like, I put in, I did a search for all the towns, and I was curious, like, how many more houses were on the market this time last year. And right now, for single family homes in these marketplaces, there's about 1,400 listings on the market. Whereas this time last year, at the same exact time, there were 1,600. So the best place to get this information for your local market, there's a few places. Your local board of realtors. So every single one of our local boards on their website, this is even before you log in, so you don't even have to log into the website, is if you go to the front page of your local board website, you can find this information and do some research on the town where you're going on a listing, so you can have an educated conversation with your seller about the lack of inventory in the market, because we know that lack of inventory is going to drive the price up for their listing, as long as that lack of inventory stays. Right now, we know there's a lack of inventory. Do we know there'll be that lack of inventory in 2 months? We don't know that. So you can get it from your local board website. Again, even before you log in, if you search for the market reports on the front page of their websites, it's out there for consumers to look up. You can also find it on the state association website. So like Mass Association of Realtors, New Hampshire Association of Realtors, you'll find the market research reports. You can also find them on the LAER website. So we have market research for every town in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So you can see what inventory looks like, how many houses are on the market, year-over-year comparisons. And then if you have an agent website powered by LAER, all that market research is also available on your agent website. So there's lots of information to gather so that you can have really candid and educated conversations with your clients. Some other stats just from across the country. Privately owned housing units authorized by building permits in December were at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.4 million. This is 5.8% above the December 2018 rate of 1.339. So it just shows you that we're going to see more housing. Good quote here from Zelman and Associates: with better than seasonal demand trends, tightening supply, and interest rates at near record lows. All the pieces are in place right now for an increase in home price appreciation for 2020. So what they're basically saying is that, hey, we already know we have a uptick in the number of people out looking for real estate. Those are the showing time reports. We also know that we still have a massive shortage of real estate on the market. That's number two. Number three, we have all-time lows on the interest rates. So those three make for a perfect storm, which tells us that home prices are going to continue to increase through 2020. So that just means, like, if you have buyers on the market right now is when they should be out buying real estate, because the prices are probably not going to decrease this year. So here's some of the big sources in real estate. These are some of their predictions for 2020. In fact, from 2020 through 2022, some of these organizations are reporting some significant increases in home appreciation, that prices are going to continue to rise through this year and the coming years. Now, one of the big concerns we see in the market right now is affordability. So what they're basically saying is that because prices are continuing to increase, the biggest concern out there for buyers is, like, it just gets harder and harder for example, first-time home buyers to afford a home. When demand increases for a scarce or low supply, prices will rise faster. The difference between houses and other goods is that we buy them with a mortgage. So it's not necessarily the actual price that matters, but the price relative to the purchasing power. So what I want you to think about here is that even though what we know is that there's a concern about housing affordability across the board, we know that because we already believe that prices are going to continue to increase this year, next year, and probably the year after that. That is powered by the number of people looking at houses, the low interest rates, and the lack of inventory. But what they're saying is there's another component to all of this, and that component is that the interest rates are going down. So it's it basically tells our home buyers out there that, yeah, prices are high, but because the interest rates are so low that you could still slide in, you could still find a property that is affordable. So there are some interesting studies that have been done that just show that historically, the average person, their mortgage payment comes in at 21% of their annual income. So historically, that's what they say, is that if we look across the board historically, on average, a consumer is spending 21% of their income on their mortgage payment. However, what we know is that these mortgage rates are decreasing. So with home prices going up, today's low interest rate environment has made affordability the best it's been since 2018. So in other words, even though prices are continuing to increase in 2020, it's like you're buying in 2018 because the mortgage rates have lowered the payments. So despite the average home price increasing by nearly $13,000, the monthly mortgage payment required to buy that same home has actually dropped by 10% over the same time span due to the falling interest rates. So if you put that another way, prospective homebuyers can now purchase a $48,000 more expensive home than a year ago while still paying the same in principal and interest. That gives them a 16% increase in buying power. One of the cool things to think about with these dropping rates is that there's a segment of buyers out there that may have wanted to sell their home over the last couple of years, but they knew that if they left their current mortgage, they were going to have to, if they bought another property, they were going to end up with a higher interest rate than what they were already at. Now with these lower interest rates, there are going to be buyers, there are going to be sellers out there that are now no longer stuck to the home they're in. They can actually move now, because if they sell their house, they know that their next mortgage is going to be at an even lower interest rate than their current one. Also want to just show you this because it's super interesting. So what they're saying is that historically over time, what we know is that historically mortgage payments have been 21.2% of average person's household income. Because of the low interest rates right now, they predict that that's going to be more like 15%. So even though we're paying more for real estate, our mortgage payments are going to be more like 15.5% of our income, because money is so cheap right now. But they said it's getting more expensive to rent. So what they're saying is that historically, people have been paying 25.8%, the people that rent pay 25.8% of their income for rent. What they're saying is that those renters now are going to be spending more like 27.8%, because the people that are really affected by the increase in price and the appreciation in pricing, the people that are really affected by that are the people that are renting houses, because the higher prices means that the landlord can go out and they're going to ask for higher rents. So it just shows you that the average person who rents a house this year, 27.8% of their income is going to be for rent. Whereas the average person that buys a house this year, 15.5% of their income is going to go towards a mortgage payment. So why on earth would anybody be renting a property right now? Some cool surveys. These came out through Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac is constantly out there just surveying to find out what is the climate, what are buyers and sellers thinking about doing. They did a survey where they asked consumers, how likely are you to take advantage of low rates to purchase a new or additional investment property in the next 12 months? And from the people they surveyed, 54% of younger millennials said they were going to take advantage of low rates to purchase a new or an additional investment property. 40% of older millennials said that they would buy this year. 27% of Gen X and 11% of baby boomers. So we need to be speaking and having conversations with the millennials. They also, Freddie Mac did that same survey for sellers. They said, how likely are you to take advantage of low rates to sell your home and purchase a larger home in the next 12 months? 54% of younger millennials said that they were going to take advantage of the rates to sell and purchase a bigger home. 40% of older millennials, 21% of Gen X, and 9% of baby boomers. So it just shows you that these low interest rates are affecting buying decisions and selling decisions in our marketplace. So one of the things that we're going to hear a lot about in the coming year is opportunity zones. I want to talk about it just for a second because it's another huge opportunity in the marketplace. So if you've been to any of our monthly commercial mixers, you've already probably been well educated on what an opportunity zone is. But an opportunity zone is an economically distressed community where new investments under certain conditions may be eligible for preferential tax treatment. Localities qualify as opportunity zones if they've been nominated for that designation by the state, and that nomination has been certified by the Secretary of the U.S. Treasury via delegation of authority to the Internal Revenue Service. So there are tax incentives out there for people to purchase real estate. So there was a cool quote that we saw from the director of Cushman and Wakefield, a big commercial outfit. And Jonathan Squire says, we saw a push towards the end of last year. Opportunity funds are becoming more popular due to the fact that there is clarity in the guidance of what somebody can do with money in the opportunity zones. Of the properties that they are marketing in opportunity zones, 10 to 20% of those deals are now bought by opportunity funds. So we're going to see more of this in a lot of our marketplaces. So these are generally areas that like Lowell or Fitchburg, we know areas like that already have opportunity zones. 78% of the zones had a median home price in the fourth quarter of 2019 that were less than the national median of 257, and some 48% of the zones had median prices of less than 150,000. So this just shows you that typically the opportunity zones are in areas that are just lower priced. So what I want you to think about as far as opportunity zones is we need to get really good this year at educating our buyers, many of the buyers we've worked with over the years, to help them get into an owner-occupied property. This is opportunity with rates so low to start educating our home buyers on how to go out and buy investment property, how to take advantage of opportunity zones. We need to educate them on different financing options for multifamilies, apartment, commercial buildings, and we can do it all inside opportunity zones. So if you are interested in kind of checking this out, we have some agents already doing cool stuff with opportunity zones. You can feel free to email us at happyagent@laerrealty.com if you're looking for more info on opportunity zones. But if you go to the Economic Innovation Group, which is eig.org/opportunity zones, you can find tons of information, including some cool, including you can find the maps of where all the opportunities exist and exactly how different deals get structured under that program. Next, I want to talk for a few minutes just about the coronavirus. I mean, that is the name of the game. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to make sure everybody knew that, first of all, the market's still very, very strong. So even amidst all the chaos that's happening in the world, the real estate market is very strong. There is good news coming out as far as coronavirus. First of all, I think it's super positive what's happening in the market with events being canceled and schools shutting down. I mean, it's precautionary. And what it shows us is, in my opinion, is that the government has a lot of it under control. So they're doing their best just to make sure that we're not going into crowded places and potentially spreading the virus. Also want to talk about China a little bit, where all this started. As of this week, China is starting to return to normal. Apple, which has 42 stores in China, reopened 38 of their stores this week. Wuhan, where this all originated, they had to open up several temporary hospitals. And this week they closed the last of their coronavirus hospitals because they feel they've controlled the outbreak and that the number of new cases is the lowest it's been since this all started, which was in December of last year, with like 13 new cases in China this week. So we're seeing it start to get under control in other countries, which the biggest one being China. And what I believe is that what we're seeing in the United States is just very, very precautionary. What I want to talk about is what our jobs are in the marketplace as real estate agents. I feel like because a lot of our customers come to us as a voice of reason within the communities, that every single one of us kind of has to make our own little public service announcements. And I see a lot of that happening in the market and on Facebook. So I see you guys sharing good information. And I think that's all we can do. If you have a blog or a website, you want to make sure that you keep sharing the CDC's website. You want to direct people to go back to the World Health Organization website out there. Like, that's the real information. We don't want to be sending them to news posts that create panic. Send people to where the facts are, which are World Health Organization and the Center for Disease Control. You also want to make sure that you just share good information about hygiene. Since we know this particular virus has a lot to do with, it can be easily transmitted, then by all means share good information on your social media and websites about the importance of washing hands and not touching their face, and how people can best protect themselves and their families. That's the most we can really do on the health piece of this, on the health issue itself. We really have to trust officials, both government officials and health officials, at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level, and at the local hospital level. They're the ones that are really taking care of all of this. All we can do is give out information as to where people can get advice if they need it. But let's talk about everything from an economic standpoint. I want everyone to understand that, yes, the virus has taken the toll on the stock market. I think I have a slide on this. Yes. So the slide I put together, because as I'm speaking right now, March 12th, over the last several days, the market has gone down thousands of points. But what we have to realize is that every single time we've had some sort of viral emergency or an emergency pertaining around a virus, the stock market has got hit pretty hard. As a matter of fact, we broke down for you all the serious virus outbreaks going all the way back to 2003 and how that impacted the S&P 500. We could see that SARS back in 2003 dropped the market 12.8%. The avian flu dropped it almost 7%. The MERS virus dropped it more than 7%. The Ebola virus, 5.8%. The Zika virus, 12.9%. Now, we don't know where the coronavirus is going to end up in this breakdown, this ranking. We don't know what it's going to be when it's all said and done. It could be double digits or it might not be. We don't know. But what we do know is that in every single one of the situations from 2003 all the way to 2016, the market came back, and it came back strong. And the same thing's going to happen here too. The only people who lose money in the stock market are the people who sell when the stock drops. If you don't panic, if you remain calm, what could wind up taking place is you just have to ride through this. So that's the best advice that we can give from an economic standpoint. We'll keep on going over the chances of whether this will slow down the economy and cause a recession. I'll give you that information as we find out more, if it's even appropriate. But what we're seeing right now is that the real estate market is still very strong. The thing that we have to give to the homeowner or to the buyer, what we need to do is make sure that we're giving them great housing advice. That is within our area of expertise. That's what our clients depend on us for. And right now, what winds up taking place whenever there is uncertainty in a market, and there's uncertainty because of the coronavirus, there's uncertainty because of the stock market right now, there's uncertainty because we're going into the most contested election in American history. That uncertainty causes people to make a flight for safety. In an economic situation, they take money out of the stock market and they put it into U.S. treasuries. So the slide that you're looking at right now shows you historically all the stock market reaction to previous viruses. But what I want to show you in this next slide is what happens and why this potentially spurs an even busier real estate market for us. So when people fly to safety, when they take flight to safety, because of all the reasons I just mentioned, that the stock market's off, we don't know what's happening with this crazy flu, because we are part of this highly charged presidential election. What we know is that when people take the money out of the stock market, they put their money into the US Treasuries. The reason they put it into the US Treasuries is because that's the safest investment in the world. Now, as people moving tons of money into the Treasury, that allows the Treasuries to give a lesser return on that particular Treasury bond. Now, as the Treasury return drops, and that's happening as we speak today, they've been under 1% for the first time in history, by the way. There is a direct correlation between the path of the US Treasury yield and the 30-year mortgage rate. So again, as we're speaking right now, the 30-year mortgage rates are in the 2s and 3%. And there are some people projecting that we're going to see those mortgage rates drop even more. And the reason they're projecting that is because as people take money out of the stock market, that money goes directly into a much safer Treasury yield. And that Treasury, the more money that goes into that, that drives the interest that they have to give back to those people goes down, which drives our interest rates down. There are so many buyers that now can buy a house at historically, truly historically low interest rates. There are sellers that have been trapped in their houses because they refinanced a couple years ago at 3.75 or 4%, and they didn't want to give up that mortgage. So they were basically trapped in a house, many of them that didn't even want that house. They couldn't upgrade, they couldn't downgrade their property because they wanted to keep their 4% interest rate. Well, now these people can go and make a move to the house of their dreams, and maybe on a monthly basis, because there's a ton of equity involved in many houses. Remember, by the way, 50% of all houses have at least 50% equity. With the equity they have in the low interest rates, they can now move into the house of their dreams for not much more money on a monthly basis than they're spending right now. But it's our job as real estate professionals to get that information out to them. So back to coronavirus, we can only give a PSA information as far as the health consequences of the virus. Tell people where to get the right information, the CDC, the World Health Organization. We can help people in regards to understanding what's taking place in the market and the stock market, but we have a moral obligation as real estate professionals to help people with their real estate needs. That's what people depend on us for. That's what our community depends on you to do. Not even just the individual buyers and sellers. It's up to us. It's up to us to make sure that we're taking into consideration the extremely, like the heartache of the health crisis and what it's doing to the economy and to the people around us. And that we take into consideration the sensitive financial challenges that all of this is causing people. But we'd be doubling down on the heartache if we did not say right now, hey guys, there's an opportunity that exists in the marketplace amidst all of the uncertainty. That is our job. It is our job to say we are the voice of reason when it comes to the market. We have to be the ones that go out and say, here's the place to find all good information about what this virus is all about. But we want you to know that if you've been thinking about buying a house, there's no better time to buy. If you've been stuck in your home because you didn't want to get rid of that 4% mortgage rate, even though you really wanted a bigger house or a smaller house, it's our job as real estate professionals to say, hey, this is how you can do it now. That's all we should be doing. And we should be doing it in huge ways. What I promise you is that we will be doing for our agents is setting up like good information for the marketplace. We want to make sure consumers know that as much as we want to, the government has our back. The government is the one making sure, you know what, we're going to shut down schools, we're going to shut down big events so that we can stop the spread of it. So let's let the government take care of the health side of this. Let the government be the one to put out good information and protect us and make sure that we're not spreading a dangerous disease. But we as professionals need to do our part. And it's our part to make sure consumers know that with the falling stock market, we're going to see all kinds of opportunity in housing. What I would love to see you guys do is start spreading great messages about what's happening with interest rates, with a historically low demand, a high demand with low inventory, and let consumers know that, hey, prices are going to continue to go up in this market. Yeah, we have to struggle through this just like we've struggled through all kinds of other challenges in history. But we also have to recognize that there's opportunity, and we're going to have thousands of buyers and sellers that look to us to capitalize on the opportunity of what is going on in the marketplace today. So that is it. That's my quick housing market update for everybody. It's a little bit heavy coming to the end, but that's because I want to make sure that everybody that's listening knows how to step up and really help their customers. We have an opportunity now to really, truly earn the money we make and show the value that we give. It's in times like this that the great agents, the best, step up. And that is what I know you guys are going to do. You guys are changing our industry. And it's time like this where the lions of real estate really shine. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but wanted to put this out so you guys know all the good stuff that's happening in the market, as well as address what's happening with the coronavirus and how potentially we're going to see the strongest real estate market we've seen in a very long time. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.